Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you to Yaniv for going first in English. And thank you to everyone for your amazing English in the lack of my German. As mentioned, I am the Senior Director of our upmarket teams in EMEA and on the East Coast at Outreach. I grew up in revenue technology, so I've been in SaaS or selling SaaS in both the MarTech and RevTech space my entire career. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the current environment in 2022. We'll talk a little bit about a Forrester survey that we commissioned, and then what is the sales execution gap, why do you care, and how do we solve for it? 2022 is shaping up to be just as eventful as the last 2 years. Everything from COVID to market dips, global conflict, all have an impact on how and where we do business. The uncertainty that we are anticipating is sort of the new name of the game. The sales teams that we work with that are successful in this environment are resilient, empathetic, and they're poised to drive the changes that are necessary from them across their technology, their teams, and their go-to-market strategies. And if global pandemics and geopolitics weren't enough, the technological innovation that we're seeing in this market is pushing forward at a lightning speed, in so much that anyone who's not on board, who can't keep up, will be left behind. Teams of sellers, even just 3 years ago, were reliant on in-person meetings, trade shows, and handshakes to get deals signed and over the line. Now, we're in a virtual world of video prospecting and Zoom, DocuSign, and AI chatbots. The game has changed, and the sales teams who are embracing new processes and new technologies are those who will be poised to succeed in this modern business environment. It's also not just technology that's changing. So are we, the sales force. Our teams are more diverse than ever. We are multi-generational, gender balanced, with strong racial diversity. It's something that we're seeing across all of our customers and something we're really passionate about at Outreach. But these changes are also reshaping how we go to market. Organizations have to have diverse and authentic teams in order to drive new avenues of thought and spark innovative ideas. Ultimately, to be successful in the modern theater of business, our teams have to be just as diverse as the buying committees that we're selling into. At Outreach, we talk to a ton of revenue leaders around the world, and most of them right now are struggling to meet their revenue targets. For years, the systems that we had in place did an okay job, right? But there's been a definitive shift in the way we do business over the last few years. We are in a more competitive, fast-paced, tech-driven, data-centric buying situation than ever before. What was good before isn't cutting it these days. The fact is that over the last 2 decades, the systems that we've put in place to support our revenue teams have only ever measured outcomes. What we found is that is at both the expense of our selling teams as well as the buying experience that they provide to their customers and their prospects. So the question is, how do we as sales leaders drive success in a new, hyper-competitive and unpredictable environment? We asked Forrester to help us commission a survey of over 200 sellers globally, mostly directors and upwards, focused on larger organizations in the B2B space. And 3 key themes emerged around how they predicted they would drive their teams to succeed. The first was that their teams had to have a digital-first mindset. Our research showed that leaders value technological know-how and digital mastery as the most important asset in building, training, and evaluating their sales teams. Industry expertise, relationship building, incredibly valuable, but digital savviness is critical. The teams of the future have to have a good grasp of data-driven selling and be comfortable leveraging the digital selling techniques of today. The second theme that we uncovered in our research was around forecasting. Most sales leaders reported that it's not as accurate as it could or should be. When we dug into this, Some of the statistics that we uncovered were incredible. Considering the business climate that we just discussed being volatile and unpredictable, we would all think that pipeline management and deal optimization and accuracy of forecasting would be more critical than ever. And yet the research shows that flawed and inefficient processes are the norm at many organizations. 60% of sales leaders said that their organizations are inconsistent in how they forecast. A further 47% reported that they regularly miss their forecasts by 15 to 25%. Forecasting takes too long. It relies on data that's inaccurate and ultimately results in sales leaders missing their targets and missing the ability to accurately report what they will or won't close. What's worse is that most of our organizations aren't equipped, even if we see this coming, to take action soon enough to impact the bottom line. The last theme we touched on in our survey was around diversity. I think this is really interesting. We asked sales leaders what were the most pressing challenges facing them in their roles this year. The number one thing was how to lead a multi-generational sales force. This challenge came in at a higher priority for these sales leaders than delivering efficient and predictable growth for the year. Nearly 50% of millennial B2B professionals are now expected to be making critical purchasing decisions. So, in a world of incredible talent spanning age, race, gender, neurodiversity, how do we empower these teams to collaborate to deliver their best to our business? How do we rise above the challenges we've discussed so far today to ensure that we're reaching our full potential? Or in the frequently heard words of our CEO, Manny, at Outreach, how do we help everyone on our team to play full out? We call this challenge the sales execution gap. It's the rift between your team's true maximized potential and what they're achieving today. As the selling landscape continues to change and our buyers become more advanced than ever, the execution gap is just widening. Following modern business practices and hiring incredible sellers is not the only thing that's going to help us get to our revenue goals. As buyers adapt to this new normal, our sellers have to evolve with them. We have to make sure that they're spending time on activities that impact the bottom line, that drive growth for our teams. As we start to conceptualize what this gap looks like, and maybe think about your own organization, how things like this might impact you, I wanted to touch on what it might feel like if the system is failing you. For the revenue teams that we work with, this shows up in a myriad of ways, but I'll focus on kind of three core themes that we hear consistently. At the top of the funnel, pipeline management and pipeline generation activities are super manual. Teams don't have the technology in place to prospect at scale and efficiently so that they can deliver good and winnable pipeline. As we move further down the funnel, we need our teams to execute the right steps with the right people at the right time, and missing crucial steps in that process decreases the likelihood of us winning that pipeline that we just worked so hard to build. Ultimately, we need the ability to orchestrate an entire revenue process from start to end so that we can understand what actions lead to the right outcomes. When we think about drivers of this process, we think about them through three lenses: efficiency, predictability, and growth. Increased efficiency means that your teams spend more time selling and less time figuring out what to do next and updating systems. Predictability means that our business becomes more reliable and less chaotic. Growth occurs naturally when efficiency drives predictability. It allows us to learn from the system that we've created and inform it further, teach it what's working. It allows us to equip our teams with data-driven tools that they need to be the best at their jobs. In order to close the gap, we need the ability to orchestrate our entire revenue cycle to gain better visibility across systems and guide our teams to serve their customers. Quick highlight of how Outreach is doing this internally and with the customers that we work with today. Outreach Engage allows us to connect with our prospects and our customers. Outreach Guide helps our sellers to execute a world-class selling process. Outreach Commit takes the data from this entire engagement model and allows our revenue leaders to forecast and track pipeline with confidence. We commissioned a study with Forrester that basically came back to tell us that on average, Outreach customers see a 387% return on investment, meaning they see a full payback of their annual investment in their first 3 months. Quickly touch on a real-life example of Outreach deployed in the wild. This slide tells the story of a Fortune 100 company, German HQ'd, who empowered their reps with the Outreach sales execution platform. One of my favorite things about this example is that they began their journey by putting Outreach in the hands of their worst performing sales team globally. That team was able to massively increase their activity, some by up to 400%. Not only did Outreach increase their efficiency, but it helped them drive better effectiveness, leading to 50% more meetings and a 91% first meeting to opportunity conversion rate. This team went from being the worst performing team to the second highest performing team out of 18 globally. Since then, we've deployed this to the entire organization. In the vein of our sort of ethos, I will wrap up efficiently with our inevitable brag slide. Some of our flagship customers are here on the right. We've got 5,000 customers globally, most of them the world's fastest growing public companies. We've also snagged a couple of awards along the way, and we are continuing to work with the 3 leading CRM companies as we continue to define what is the sales engagement and revenue intelligence market. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any questions? Does anyone use Outreach yet? Please, hands up. Ah, okay. Here we've got. Great. So do you have any questions about Outreach so far? Or highly content with it?
These two work at Outreach, so highly content.
Okay, sorry, I didn't get that hint. Okay. If no one's got any questions, then I would say thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thanks.
And give it up for Rebecca Feiten once again. Thank you.